Good evening, dear friend. If you're listening to this tonight, perhaps sleep has been a little shy again. Maybe the clock keeps ticking while your mind wanders. Old memories, small worries, a sudden ache in the shoulder. You're not alone. All across America, countless kind souls your age are awake right now, listening for comfort. And here we are, together, sharing a moment under the same quiet sky. Before we step into tonight's story, let's take a few small steps to invite rest closer. Dim the lights or switch them off completely if you can. Let the room become soft and gentle. Lower the volume on anything else around you. No TV chatter, no phone alerts tugging for attention. If you can, set your phone just a little out of reach, so this time is only for you. Feel the mattress beneath you and take a slow, easy breath in and out. Tonight's story is meant for hearts that have known long summers and gentle rains. It's for the hands that have written letters by candlelight, for the feet that once splashed through puddles without a care, for the souls who have watched 1,000 sunsets and still marvel at the colors. Even if your body is a little slower now, your memories are still bright. Tonight, we'll wander back to a season when rain didn't feel like a nuisance. It felt like a song on the rooftop, a promise of new blossoms and a reason to laugh beneath a wide sky. As you listen, let the pictures form softly in your mind. An old front porch with creaking wooden steps, a tin roof whispering under a summer shower, and the smell of fresh earth rising with the rain. Let yourself drift toward those images, as though each drop of rain is washing away the noise of the day. You might even want to gently rub your shoulders or your calves, small, soothing circles to relax the muscles. Little touches like that can signal to your body that it's safe to let go. And while you listen, remember, there's no pressure here. You don't have to stay awake for every word. If you drift off mid-sentence, that's perfect. Your mind is doing exactly what it needs. These stories are here to keep you company in the quiet hours, so you never feel alone in the dark. If you find comfort in these bedtime tales, you're warmly invited to subscribe, so you'll have a familiar voice waiting on the nights when sleep feels far away. And if you ever wish to share a memory or a topic you'd like to revisit, a favorite season, a long-ago road trip, or a recipe that always reminds you of home, you can leave a comment when you're ready. Your memories help shape the next story and might comfort someone else who's awake tonight. Now, close your eyes, if you haven't already. Listen to the quiet hum of the room. Imagine a gentle summer rain beginning to fall outside your window. Tonight, we're stepping back into a simpler time, to the sound of summer rain showers. In a quiet Midwestern town, somewhere between wide fields of corn and sleepy two-lane roads, the evening air in late June carries a promise. It is that moment, just before the first raindrops fall, when the world holds its breath and even the crickets pause their chorus. The sky above wears a pale lavender hue, streaked with amber where the sun is trying to hold on a little longer. Houses line the street like old friends, their porches weathered but proud, rocking chairs swaying faintly in the breeze that has started to pick up. The asphalt still radiates warmth from a long summer day, and you can almost hear the echo of children's laughter fading as they've been called indoors for supper. In one yard, a forgotten red bicycle lies on its side, its wheels slowly turning with the faintest whisper of wind. Across the street, the scent of freshly cut grass mingles with the distant aroma of someone grilling burgers, reminders of simpler joys. Inside one of those modest houses, the screen door creaks open. A man in his early 20s, barefoot, his jeans rolled up just above the ankle, steps onto the porch. His name is Daniel, though everyone calls him Danny. He's the kind of young man who greets neighbors with a nod and a shy smile, the sort who works at the local hardware store during the day and spends his evenings sketching in an old notebook. His hair is still damp from a quick shower after work, and he smells faintly of cedar soap. Danny lowers himself onto the porch swing, its chains rattling softly, and stretches his legs out across the wooden boards. He can hear the faint sound of a radio drifting from a nearby house, an old country tune with a gentle twang. As he closes his eyes, he feels the first cool drop of rain land on his forearm. It leaves a small dark circle on his skin before sliding down. He smiles, because summer rain has always been his favorite kind. It never seems angry or hurried. It just falls, soft and steady, like a friend knocking on the door. The wind carries the low rumble of thunder from far away, rolling across the fields like an old wagon. Somewhere down the street, a screen door bangs shut, and a woman's voice calls for her dog to come inside. The world feels hushed now, as though everything is waiting for the rain to begin in earnest. The trees along the sidewalk sway, their leaves trembling with anticipation. A single firefly blinks near the hedge, then another, until the yard begins to sparkle with tiny golden lanterns. As the rain starts to pick up, the tin roof of the porch becomes a drum. Patter, patter, pat, pat, patter. It's a rhythm Danny has known since childhood, a sound that used to lull him to sleep on nights when his parents would leave the bedroom windows open. He leans back and lets the swing rock gently, feeling the boards beneath him cool as the air grows damp. The smell of petrichor, the earthy fragrance that rises when rain meets dry soil, wraps around him like a familiar blanket. The neighborhood transforms quickly. What was minutes ago a warm summer evening is now a symphony of rain and low thunder. Small rivulets begin to form along the edge of the street, carrying tiny leaves and petals toward the gutters. The lamppost on the corner flickers to life, casting a soft halo through the rain. Behind it, the horizon glows faintly, where the sun still tries to shine through the downpour. Danny's mind drifts, as it often does during storms. He remembers being a little boy, running barefoot through puddles with his cousin Michael, daring each other to catch the biggest splash. He remembers sitting on this very porch swing as a teenager, writing letters to a girl who moved away, the ink smudged when a stray drop of rain slipped onto the page. The rain has always been a keeper of memories for him, a reminder that even fleeting moments can leave lasting impressions. Inside the house, a dim golden light glows from the kitchen window. The faint clink of dishes being washed echoes through the rain. The comforting normalcy of it all, the steady downpour, the familiar creak of the swing, the hum of home, wraps around Danny's heart like a lullaby. Beyond the town, the fields stretch endlessly, their green stalks bowing under the weight of the rain. The scent of wet earth and corn is strong now, mixing with the metallic tang of the storm. It's the kind of night where time feels slow, where every drop of water seems to carve a new memory into the soil. And for Danny, sitting there barefoot on the porch, it feels like the whole world has paused just to let him breathe. The rain falls harder now, drumming on the tin roof and splashing onto the porch steps. Danny doesn't move. He's content to let the evening wash over him. Somewhere deep inside, he knows that nights like these are rare. Someday, years from now, he might be the one lying awake, listening for a familiar sound to soothe him. Maybe he'll remember this very evening, the way the rain smelled, the way the fireflies blinked, the way the world felt young and full of quiet wonder. Tonight, though, he is simply here under summer rain showers. The evening sky over the small Midwestern town had begun to change its colors, soft oranges and pale pinks giving way to gentle gray clouds that promised rain. The air was warm, holding on to the day's heat. but a subtle coolness was creeping in as the breeze stirred the tall grass in the fields just beyond the houses. Porches stretched lazily along the quiet street, their wooden boards faded by countless summers, each one holding memories of laughter and whispered secrets. The faint sound of a wind chime rang out from somewhere down the block, a delicate melody that mingled with the smell of honeysuckle carried on the air. Old elm trees lined the sidewalks, their branches heavy with leaves that fluttered and whispered like old friends sharing confidences. The first distant rumble of thunder rolled low across the horizon, soft and unhurried, like an old story being told once again. Inside the simple homes, windows were left open, screens rattling gently as the wind danced through curtains patterned with faded flowers. A lone radio somewhere played an old country tune, its static crackle adding to the evening's sense of nostalgia. The rain began slowly, just a few cool drops splashing onto porch steps and dust-covered roads. They darkened the wood and the dirt in small, gentle circles like nature's fingertips testing the world's readiness for a shower. Soon, the steady patter of summer rain filled the night air, a soothing rhythm that hushed the world outside. The scent of wet earth rose up, rich and comforting, mingling with the lingering sweetness of honeysuckle and freshly mown grass. Children's laughter had long faded with the twilight, leaving only the soft hum of cicadas and the rain's melody. Streetlights flickered on one by one, their golden glow creating shimmering halos in the mist, casting long shadows that swayed with the breeze. Somewhere an old screen door creaked open, followed by the muffled thump of boots on a porch. A figure, perhaps a man recalling his youth, stood quietly, watching the rain cascade from the eaves, listening as memories stirred like the leaves in the wind. The town seemed to hold its breath, wrapped in the tender embrace of the summer shower. Each droplet on each leaf told a small story of years gone by. Childhood games in puddles, first kisses under umbrellas, and warm nights spent on front steps talking until the stars came out. Far off, a train horn sounded, low and mournful, its echo carrying across the wet fields and into the hearts of those who remembered catching rides to distant cities in their younger days. The sound blended with the rain, a reminder of journeys taken and journeys yet to come. As the storm settled into its steady song, the world felt smaller and kinder. The rain wasn't a storm to fear, but a friend returning, bringing memories, comfort, and a promise that even in life's later summers, beauty could still surprise you in the simplest of ways. On one porch, an old swing creaked as it moved gently in the breeze, empty but alive with the echoes of voices that once filled the space. Fireflies blinked along the edges of the yard, their tiny lights flashing like winks from the past, small sparks of magic in the rainy dusk. The entire town seemed to exhale under the rainfall, a shared sigh of relief and connection. Here in this moment, past and present intertwined, the rain today was the same rain of 60 years ago, and the memories it stirred felt as fresh as the scent of the wet earth. Nothing urgent remained. No noise, no rush, just the steady heartbeat of the rain, the soft glow of porch lights, and the gentle reminder that the world, even in its simplest form, was still full of wonder. Clara stood on her grandmother's old porch, watching the rain paint silver streaks across the twilight sky. The wooden boards beneath her feet were damp and cool, carrying the faint scent of cedar and memories long past. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the gentle drumming on the roof and the distant rumble of thunder rolling across the plains. The summer rain always brought her back to evenings when she was barely 20, when life still stretched out endlessly before her. Back then, the porch swing creaked under the weight of three cousins packed together, telling jokes and secrets while the radio hummed inside. The world beyond their small town felt far away, and yet every drop of rain seemed to hold a promise of adventure waiting just over the horizon. She could almost hear her grandfather's laugh now, low and warm, as he carried in firewood even in summer. "Just in case the storm knocks the power out, kids," he'd say, his voice full of reassurance. The lamp inside the living room would flicker, casting long shadows across the floral wallpaper, and the cousins would huddle closer, pretending to be scared of the thunder, even though they secretly loved the thrill of it. Now, standing here decades later, Clara let the memories wash over her like the rain itself. The sound of the cicadas blended with the storm, a lullaby she had known since childhood. She traced her fingers along the porch railing, the paint chipped and rough, but still sturdy, like the people who had gathered here year after year, weathering life's tempests together. Down the street she saw a faint glow from another porch light, and imagined the neighbors inside, perhaps doing the same, recalling their own summers of young love and old songs. The thought made her smile softly. The world had changed so much, new cars, new voices on the radio, but the rain had not. She remembered a night just like this one when she and her best friend Ruth had danced barefoot in the yard. The rain had soaked their dresses, but they didn't care. They spun in circles until they were dizzy with laughter. Later, wrapped in towels, they'd sat on this very porch, sharing whispered dreams about the lives they wanted someday. Clara had spoken of traveling west, Ruth of becoming a teacher. They had felt so certain the future was theirs to shape. A gust of wind sent a spray of raindrops across Clara's cheeks, startling her back to the present. She laughed quietly at herself, feeling both old and young all at once. Somewhere inside, the radio still played softly, now an oldies station, and the familiar crackle of the speakers felt like a hand on her shoulder, a reminder that some things endure. The rain thickened, drumming louder on the tin roof, and she stepped back under the overhang, pulling her shawl closer. Her thoughts drifted to her children and grandchildren, scattered across the country now, living their own busy lives. She hoped, when they thought of her, they remembered nights like these, simple, quiet, and full of love. She imagined them listening to a summer storm years from now, maybe far from this porch, and feeling that same tug of memory. Maybe one of them would smile the way she was smiling now and know that in some small way the past was still alive within them. As the rain continued, Clara's heart softened and the tension of the day slipped away. The worries that had kept her awake so many nights, doctor's appointments, distant family, the quiet ache of age, felt smaller against the endless rhythm of the summer rain. Here, under this sky and this roof, she was simply part of the world's gentle turning. The storm's song wrapped around her, a melody of water, wood, and memory, and she let herself sway with it. The porch swing, though empty now, moved slightly with the breeze, as if an invisible hand had given it a push. And for a moment, Clara could almost see the shadows of her cousins there again, laughing, teasing, and promising to never grow apart. She breathed in deeply, the scent of rain and earth filling her chest, and felt a quiet gratitude settle in. Life had been long, sometimes hard, often beautiful, and even here, decades later, the rain still had the power to remind her of who she had been, and of all the love that had carried her through. The summer rain was a bridge across time, connecting her past to her present, and offering her a sense of peace that words could never fully capture. Clara lingered on the porch, watching the summer rain pour like liquid silver across the fields beyond town. The storm had settled into a steady rhythm now, no longer a passing shower, but a gentle companion for the evening. Somewhere in the distance, a barn light flickered to life, casting a warm golden glow against the gray horizon, like a lighthouse guiding memories safely ashore. She stepped off the porch, her shoes splashing lightly in shallow puddles, and walked toward the edge of the yard. The grass was cool beneath her feet, and each step seemed to draw her deeper into a world she once knew, one of youthful laughter, neighborhood games, and the smell of fresh rain on summer nights. She remembered how, as a teenager, she would sit beneath the willow tree near the fence with a notebook in her lap, scribbling dreams in crooked handwriting. The rain had always been her muse back then, its song a reminder that the world was vast and full of wonder waiting just beyond the horizon. Even now, she could hear the echoes of her own younger voice, whispering to the rain about adventures she hadn't yet taken. The sound of the radio inside drifted out through the open window, a faint melody from decades ago, a tune that had played on this very porch when she'd first learned to dance. Clara smiled as she swayed slightly, her movements slow and gentle, her body remembering steps her mind had long forgotten. The rain didn't mind if she missed a beat. It kept its own time, patient and forgiving. She thought of the neighbors who used to live down the street, the McAllisters, the Johnsons, old Mr. Keller with his harmonica. On nights like this, they would all sit out on their porches, waving across the yards, sharing stories and lemonade. The sense of community had been as natural as breathing back then, each family a thread in the same warm quilt. A flash of lightning lit up the horizon, followed by a low, rolling thunder that felt more like a lullaby than a warning. Clara tilted her face toward the sky, letting the cool rain wash over her skin, and for a moment she felt ageless. The years between then and now blurred, and she was once again the girl twirling barefoot in the yard, laughing under a summer storm. She walked back to the porch, her shawl now damp and clinging to her shoulders, and settled into the swing. The old chains creaked softly as she rocked, the sound blending perfectly with the rain's rhythm. She closed her eyes and listened, not just to the storm, but to the voices of the past that seemed to rise with it. Somewhere deep in her heart, she felt her grandparents' presence, their wisdom, their kindness, the simple lessons they had taught her about patience and gratitude. She could almost hear her grandmother's voice saying, "Every storm has its beauty, Clara. You just have to sit still long enough to see it." As the rain continued, she thought about the letters she had saved in a small wooden box inside. Letters from friends long gone, from children now grown, from a husband who had shared many summers with her before life took him too soon. She realized that every droplet of rain tonight was a messenger of memories, carrying pieces of her life back to her in the gentlest way. The world outside her small porch had changed. Roads widened, stores closed and opened again, faces aged and new ones arrived, but the rain remained constant. It was the same summer rain that had fallen on her childhood porch, on her wedding day, on the night she'd rocked her firstborn to sleep by an open window. The storm was not just water falling from the sky. It was a thread stitching together all the chapters of her life. She rocked slowly, feeling the cool breeze lift her hair, and whispered a quiet thank you to the night. Thank you for the memories, for the rain, for the reminder that even in stillness, life was full and beautiful. Somewhere, perhaps on another porch in another town, someone else was feeling the same way tonight. Held by the sound of rain, cradled by time, and reminded that they were part of something much bigger than themselves. The storm began to soften, its heavy patter fading into a light drizzle that tapped gently on the roof. Fireflies returned to the yard's edges, their tiny lights flickering like the smallest of promises. Clara stayed on the swing, letting the rain's final whispers wash over her, content to sit in the quiet company of her memories until the night folded her into sleep. The drizzle outside shifted again, picking up into a slightly heavier rain as if the sky had found a second wind. Clara stayed on the porch swing, her shawl damp but comforting, and listened as the new rhythm echoed across the quiet neighborhood. It was a little louder now, a little wilder, but still kind, like a song reaching its chorus before softening again. She stood, stepping to the porch's edge where the gutter overflowed in small waterfalls, and held out her hand to catch the cool drops. The rain splashed against her palm, bringing with it the memories of summers long past. She thought of the night she'd first told her secrets to the rain, a girl barely 16, believing the world was infinite and her heart unbreakable. Suddenly, a warm breeze swept through, carrying with it the smell of wet earth and distant lilacs. Clara felt the air press close, as though the night itself was wrapping her in an embrace. The storm wasn't fierce, but it carried a certain energy, an invitation to remember not only the soft moments, but the vibrant ones too. She closed her eyes and recalled a night when she and her high school sweetheart Daniel had walked home in a storm, not unlike this. The rain had soaked them to the skin, and yet they had laughed the entire way, giddy with young love and freedom. Daniel had twirled her beneath a street lamp, its light shimmering through the falling water, and in that moment she had felt utterly alive. Back then, every sound of thunder had been exciting, every flash of lightning a spark to dream by. Clara smiled now, thinking of how far she had traveled since then, through joys, heartbreaks, losses, and triumphs. Each storm in her life had passed, leaving her wiser, gentler, and more grateful for the simple beauty of nights like this. The rain intensified again, pattering against the porch roof with renewed vigor. She watched the puddles grow in the yard, their surfaces rippling and shimmering like liquid glass. A pair of robins darted for cover under the eaves, shaking the rain from their wings as if to remind her that even nature sought refuge in life's storms. As the thunder rumbled again, Clara felt an unexpected wave of emotion. It wasn't sadness exactly, more like awe at the sheer passage of time, at the knowledge that she had been many versions of herself beneath summer skies just like this. A daughter, a dreamer, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, all these identities layered within her as inseparable as the rain from the clouds. She whispered into the storm, a habit she'd had since she was a girl. I remember, and I'm still here. The words were carried off by the wind, perhaps to mingle with the echoes of other voices who had once stood on porches like hers, looking out at summer storms. For a brief moment, she imagined the younger Clara standing beside her, the barefoot girl with tangled hair, soaked dress clinging to her knees, laughing at thunder as if it were an old friend. They shared the same heartbeat, separated by decades, but united by memory. The rain softened slightly, as though the sky had heard her words and nodded in quiet acknowledgement. The distant train horn called out again, its mournful note weaving through the rainfall, reminding her of journeys yet to come, even in the later chapters of her life. Clara wrapped her shawl tighter and stepped back onto the swing, her movements slow, deliberate, peaceful. She felt the porch cradle her like an old friend, and for a moment, the boundaries between past and present dissolved. Time wasn't linear tonight. It circled back on itself, blending laughter and loss, youth and age, into a single tender moment. She thought of her children and grandchildren, wondering if they would someday have nights like this, nights when the world outside pauses just long enough for the heart to remember. She hoped they would, and that when they did, they would feel her love threaded through the raindrops, a quiet legacy carried on the wind. As the rain reached its peak and then began to ebb again, Clara exhaled deeply. The storm had sung its song, reminding her of life's fleeting beauty and the enduring strength of memory. She let the sound wrap around her like a blanket, the gentle climax of the night holding her in its steady, soothing rhythm. The world felt vast and intimate all at once, and she, small beneath the sky, felt infinite in return. The rain began to ease, the heavy drops softening into a delicate mist that floated across the yard. The porch swing creaked gently as Clara leaned back, her shawl pulled close, her breathing steady. The night air smelled clean, as though the storm had washed not only the streets, but the memories heavy on her mind. The puddles in the yard rippled one last time before smoothing into glassy stillness. A faint glow appeared in the distance where the clouds had begun to part, revealing the silver curve of the moon. Clara's heart slowed with the rhythm of the night, each inhale and exhale syncing with the softened patter of the last raindrops. She thought of the storms of her youth, how wild they had felt, how unstoppable. Tonight, though, she understood that even the fiercest downpour must eventually fade into quiet. Life was the same. Every rush of joy, every surge of sorrow, each chapter, no matter how intense, eventually gave way to stillness. The robins beneath the eaves fluttered their wings, stepping cautiously into the damp night, as if testing whether it was safe to move forward. Clara smiled softly, recognizing herself in them. She too had waded through storms, sometimes fearful, sometimes restless, but always hopeful that calm would return, and it always had. She listened for the train again, but the tracks were silent now. Instead, the world offered her a chorus of softer sounds, the drip-drip of rain slipping from leaves, the distant croak of a frog near the creek, the sigh of the breeze through the wet grass. It was a lullaby written just for her, patient and steady. Clara closed her eyes and let her thoughts wander gently. She remembered teaching her children to dance in the rain, their giggles echoing as they splashed through puddles. She remembered sitting by the window with Daniel, holding mugs of cocoa, watching storms roll across the horizon together. And she remembered her own mother's voice, telling her stories on rainy nights to keep away the fear of thunder. Every memory seemed to fold into the next, layers of her life weaving into a soft quilt that warmed her more than the shawl around her shoulders. The rain had slowed to the gentlest drizzle now, more like a whisper than a song. The night seemed to nod in agreement. It was time to rest. She tilted her head back and watched as the moonlight spilled across the wet porch, turning the wooden boards into shimmering silver. The sky, once dark and storm-heavy, now carried only a scattering of clouds, drifting lazily as though they too had tired themselves out. "Thank you," Clara whispered, to the rain, to the night, to the years behind her. It was not a grand declaration, but a simple offering of gratitude for all she had lived, all she had remembered, and all she still held close in her heart. The quiet after the storm was not empty. It was full of peace, of promise, of gentle reminders that even endings could feel like beginnings. She let the silence surround her, the steady rhythm of her heart aligning with the night. For the first time in a long while, her body felt lighter, her thoughts softer, her spirit calm. Clara rose from the swing, her steps unhurried as she moved toward the door. She paused at the threshold, looking once more at the moonlit yard. The grass glistened, the flowers bowed under tiny droplets, the world alive in its gentle stillness. She carried the moment with her as she turned inside, ready to rest. And as the door closed softly behind her, the porch and the yard remained, bathed in silver light, whispering with the memory of rain, holding the gentle resolution of a summer storm. A promise that no matter how heavy the clouds might gather, the quiet would always return. Always. As the story of this summer rain comes to a close, I'd like to leave you with a gentle reminder. Rest, peace, and calm are not things we must chase. They often arrive when we allow ourselves to pause, to breathe, to listen to the world around us. Just as Clara discovered in her quiet evening after the storm, sometimes it's in the stillness that we find the comfort we've been seeking. If you're listening tonight, perhaps lying in bed with your phone set a little farther away, the lights dimmed, and the world outside settling into its own rhythm, know this: you are not alone in these sleepless hours. Many people, especially those of us over 60, find ourselves awake when we wish we could be resting. But that doesn't make the night an enemy. It can also be a gentle companion, offering moments to reflect, to remember, and to soften into sleep at your own pace. Try to let your shoulders relax. Let your breath deepen. Feel the weight of the blankets around you, holding you safe and steady. Even if sleep doesn't arrive immediately, your body is still resting, still finding calm. And in time, just like the clouds after a summer storm, your mind will clear and sleep will come. I hope tonight's story has given you a sense of ease, a touch of nostalgia, and perhaps even a few memories of your own. Maybe you remembered the sound of rain on a tin roof, or the smell of wet earth after a storm, or a moment when you danced barefoot in a puddle long ago. These memories are gifts, gentle treasures that remind us of the beauty that has always been part of our lives. Before you drift away, I'd love to invite you to share your thoughts. If a certain part of tonight's story touched you, or if you have a memory of summer rain you'd like to share, please leave a comment. Your stories not only inspire me, but they may bring comfort to others who are listening too. And if there's a kind of story you'd like to hear next, about a first love, a family gathering, a quiet porch evening, or perhaps a favorite place from your past, let me know. This channel is meant to be a place of calm, of shared memories, and of gentle company. If you haven't already, consider subscribing so that each night you'll have a new story waiting for you. A story to help carry you from wakefulness into rest, from rest into dreams. So now, as the rain has quieted and the world grows still, I wish you peace. May your sleep be deep, may your dreams be kind, and may tomorrow greet you gently. Good night, my friend.